Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. We've got another episode of questions that have been asked, and some fishing hacks, some questions, some tips, and I hope you stick around. If you enjoy these types of videos, we're going to go through a couple of the questions that are frequently asked, hopefully with some explanations that will help to solve some of these issues for you, and well, get you thinking about why a reel may be failing, and if you're considering buying it, if you discover a particular issue with the reel, know either how to solve the problem or how to stay away from the reel if that's the case. Well, we got a couple of these that have come in, so let's kind of get right on this in terms of answering some of those questions for you. And the first one comes in from David. David looks like David Tompkins 385, and he said, I have a Shimano Calais. It's got a drag that will not tighten up. Can you help? Well, there's a couple of issues. You need to understand the fundamentals on how a drag works in a conventional reel, and that premise will tell you where to look to see if something in fact is gone bad. And while I've got pen bridges here, but the explanation is going to be close enough. There's a drag stack in almost all of the conventional reels that has what's typically referred to as a 6 drag. 3 metal, 3 that contain drag washers. They're either fabric, they're Teflon, or they're felt for the most part. Now, today, the newer versions are Carbon-Tex or Carbon-Tex hybrids, but most of the older reels have one of those 3 pieces. And what happens to drags over time is they wear down. This is an example of a pen drag washer that's been in there for a long time. It was a leather washer. It's flattened out. Well, what happens when you get the compression on those drag washers combined with the wear is that the drag washer stack gets diminished. It gets pushed in. And an easy way to tell if you need drag washers, this one almost needs drag washers, but if you can look behind your star adjuster and you see a metal plate here, then what you're going to find without a gap here is that you're going to need drag washers. Here's another example of that. This is an ambassador reel. We'll talk about this one in a minute, but there's a gap here between the star adjuster and that plate. If that gap is diminished or it's gone, and this plate is rubbing right up against that shoulder, means your drag washers are worn. You can't tighten down the adjuster any longer. If you can't tighten down the adjuster, well, that gets back to David's question. I have a drag that will not tighten up. So that's the most common cause. There's another cause behind it as well. This is less common because it generally involves somebody having taken the reel apart and reinstalled incorrectly. So this one happens to have the HT100 drag washers on here. That's a more modern version. I think this was probably off of, I'm not sure what it's off of. But the middle drag washer on these stacks normally has 2 studs on it. It's called an eared washer. The center is circular, the outsides have points. They are to nest into the 2 grooves on the reel. One here, one here. It sits in nested, and if it gets installed without being nested off to the side here, the star adjuster will push down on this, but it'll never put enough pressure on. You can see the gap here that it's going to create. It'll never put enough pressure onto these drag stacks to allow that to tighten up. So it's going to be one of 2 things. It's either going to be that you have 1 drags, or that your eared washer has not seated properly. Now there's a third one. The third one involves somebody not putting on the star adjuster properly, cross-stripping the threads on your pinion gear shaft, and if it's cross-stripped, it never gets down to put that pressure on. So a couple of common causes to it that you may want to look at if that's your issue, and I thank David for asking that question. All right, let's continue on. If you like these kinds of videos, I want to encourage you to subscribe, and if you do subscribe, please use that notification button. It says, I know this is off topic, but is there a touch-up paint or a way to touch up paint on a vintage reel without making it into a large project? That's by Caleb Smith, $21.31. Well, the short answer to that is that you can do some repairs. It depends on how far you want to get into the repair scheme, and if you're just looking to protect the reel, or if it's something more than that, or you're looking to restore the reel. To restore a reel, it's going to be it's going to be quite a project, and it is going to be that large project that he's talking about. But here's a reel. It's an older one, and it has paint chips. They're missing. Okay, there and on the side under here. You probably have some salt deposits and the like. Here's paint missing down here. How do you do that? And one of the ways that you can do that is to go to a hobby store, like Hobby Lobby or something like that, and get the paint that's made for models, aircraft models, boat models, the Revel kind of stuff, right? And just dab the paint on there. Of course, you want to prep it. You want to get a little bit of sandpaper or emery cloth or something, get the old corrosion and that off of it. But just use the applicator and just very finely put a little bit of that over. Let it settle. And then if you like, you can clear coat it with, something as simple as clear nail polish. Or you can get a lacquer to finish it over. That will protect the paint from not blistering any further, but that's about as easy as it's going to get without taking this into a large restoration project where you're going to strip all of the paint down, respray, recoat, and the like. The next one up is, I think it's a tip if I remember. Yeah, so William West, 5827, says there's a product being sold out on the market. It's called Nut Wax, and it helps you to hold the screw to the tip of your screwdriver. Now, we've been using greases. We'll show you a little, dip the tip of the screwdriver into the grease, and that'll temporarily hold you. Well, somebody actually came up with a formulation there called Nut Wax. It's by Wax-A-Million, and it says it's designed for mechanics, and it's your go-to solution when you're keeping bolts and that on your drivers, right? And I don't know what makes this different from the grease. It's probably got a thicker viscosity, maybe a little glue content to it. But whatever it is, if you're interested, I just did a quick scan of the old internet, found out you can order it for $8. And if that's your problem, it may be the solution to the problem that you have. All right, let's look a little bit further here. I had that reel. Here you go. I just got my hands on a classic 5000. This is a 6500. Ambassador would like to know if there's a way to hot rod this reel or to soup it up. These are nice reels overall. This is the 6000. I said 6500. This one, this one needs a little bit of work. We got a bad side plate here. We're missing the driver. But let's talk about what is available out there for a quick hot rodding, and then I guess there's probably other products out there I'm not aware of that can go further. What you can do on a reel like this is you can upgrade the bearings. Those bearings could be upgraded to ceramic bearings. I just finished that on an Ambassador 2500, and boy, that spool screams with those ceramic bearings. So you have an option to upgrade the ceramic bearings. On your drag stack, you can convert those to Carbon-Tex. And the Carbon-Tex will help not only improve the performance of it, but give you a better chance to land those big fish. And then the last thing, without doing too much, is there's ceramic pawls on the market, and if you find that your pawl is wearing, you could get a replacement pawl. There's other things you can do. People take these handles off and put leveraged handles on them. Things that I think are marginal in terms of performance upgrades. But for the most part, that's it. Ceramic bearings, Carbon-Tex washers, ceramic pawl, and you're on your way to hot rodding that reel. Okay. If anybody has any additional ones that they know about, I'm going to guess there are probably stainless steel guideposts and gears and other things. But if you know of any others that can help William out, let's know that. All right. This one comes from something I can't even pronounce here, so we're going to leave it at that. DDZIADIW. Okay, and he says, is there a degreaser you recommend to cleaning up all grease? Well, most of the time you're going to see me using a simple penetrating oil, and I don't have a preference. It's what's on the shelf when I go into a hardware store or a home supply store. Most of the time it seems to be that I wind up with WD-40 just because it's there. I like it. I'm not going to say I don't like the product. I like the product. And penetrating oils, well, you can see right down here it says removes and stops squeaks, removes, protects, loosens rusted parts, frees sticky mechanisms and the like. And it does soften the grease that's in reels, and it does help you with the aid of a screwdriver or a cotton swab or something like that to loosen your grease. So that's one product. That's my go-to. There's another one out there on the market. It's a penetrating catalyst. It's called PB Blaster. And most of the time I'll use this only if it's severely rusted burrings or severely rusted nuts or things like that. I don't use this generally for loosening grease, but it could be used for that. Why don't I use it? I don't like the odor that comes off of this. It's just, well, something that I just prefer not to inhale. Don't know what's quite in here. And, well, you can use it if you got big globs of thick grease and you're looking for something to help you solve that. Here's another one. This is a brake cleaner. So go to your automotive stores. You're always dealing with grease when you're dealing in the automotive category, if you're doing any kind of engine work at all. One of them is a brake cleaner. And it says it cleans and dries quickly, and it will flush out. It is an aerosol, and it does have a lot of pressure in it, and you can probably blast away at a lot of the grease that's inside of a reel. The other one that's in the automotive aisle, well, you don't have carburetors around much anymore, but you certainly have carburetor cleaner. Carb and choke cleaners, for those of us that even remember when you had chokes on cars. I guess we have automatic chokes these days. You don't have carburetors anymore, so kind of laugh at that. But yeah, I actually drove a car that had a manual choke. All right, at any rate, this is as good, if not better, in dissolving the stuff than the brake cleaner. So again, I hope I've answered those questions. Well, I try to keep these episodes short. I try to just cover a few topics and provide some tips like that nut wax, and some tips on how to break the grease up. Also some mechanical things to help you out and solve your issues that you may be having. In this case, the issue was clearly with the drag stack not having the tension. I hope you've enjoyed it. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. And I want to thank you, the viewer, for helping make this channel everything that it is, and while continuing to provide the questions and the support to help this just get better as we continue to evolve. So thank you, thank you, thank you. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.